Please pray with me. More of you, O Christ, less of me. More of you, O Christ, less of me. More of you, O Christ, less of me. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts draw us closer to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Good tidings to Zion. This is not a headline you're seeing in the newspaper right now. In fact, Zionism has become like the dirtiest word possible. So dirty that a bunch of people gathering for a Hanukkah party in Australia just got mowed down. And the flip side of that is what has happened in Gaza is Zionism at its worst. And most of us cannot really point a whole lot of fingers. We've all participated in empire. We've all participated in colonialism. We live in the most racist country, I think, on earth, although I don't know, maybe, how do you measure that? But certainly, we have our own colonial and imperial sins. So this is not a sermon about Israel, however. But this ancient text, and we're talking 4th century BCE. This is very old. King Ahaz was probably the worst king of Israel. People can argue about that in the same way that we sometimes argue who was the worst president. But most scholars, you see why this is timely. Most scholars would agree that King Ahaz was one of the worst kings of Israel. And most rabbis would probably back me up on that. This is a period, and I preached on Isaiah a couple weeks ago, and I said this is a period during the divided kingdom. Israel, when they came back into Palestine, there were 10 tribes, and they did not get along. And there was a northern kingdom, which was usually known as Israel, and there was a southern kingdom known as Judah. So this context makes a difference if you want to get the aria. Say unto the cities of Judah, right? This is good news for Judah. Because what was happening at the time, what King Ahaz was worried about, the two kingdoms that would be laid waste, would be his kingdom, Israel, and Judah. Because while he wanted to go after Judah, the Assyrians were going to take them both into exile in Babylon. So that internal fighting allowed them to be conquered by somebody from the outside. That's why this sermon's entitled, Good King, Bad King, No Kings. And the reason we read this text during Christmas, because you might really wonder, is because this is the season when we say, who is Jesus? And one of the answers to that question, especially in the Gospel of Matthew, but also in Luke to some extent, is that Jesus is the fulfillment of this prophecy. Now, as many of you knew, prophecies in the Hebrew Bible are not about predicting the future. They're about what is the edgy thing, what is the prophetic thing to do. We talk about being a prophetic congregation sometimes. That doesn't mean we have any idea what's happening in the future. As we all know, when we set out on this great big journey, we had no clue that yesterday would have happened the way it did. Really, we didn't. We had snippets of things, and we had values we wanted to bring to it, and we had ideas, but we had no idea. But it was prophetic to do something that most churches don't do. That's prophetic. We went against the normal paradigm and did something prophetic. But in this particular case, Matthew did turn this into Jesus is that child. This is the Emmanuel. And you don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe that Jesus was godly or whatever. You don't have to believe any of that to latch on to the idea of God with us, Emmanuel. Now, as you know, our former associate pastor and intern, Tom Emmanuel, often preached this text when he was still with us before he went to Scotland. And because he was like, it's my Sunday, Emmanuel. But what Emmanuel for me means is that we are holy. Whatever that means for you. We are sacred. God calls you good. And within us, we know what the language really fails us. We know what our best selves, we all have a picture of who we really want to be, of what our best selves would look like. And some of the things you named during the conversation are those things. And for me, John, I do think we have to deal with, though, our human blah, 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 because we've all got a little Ahaz in us. And if you didn't know Ahaz, you definitely knew his wife, because his wife was Jezebel. Now, isn't it the truth that a bad woman is always remembered before a bad king? Everybody knows Jezebel, but she was married to King Ahaz, the worst king of them all. So we've got our little inner Jezebels. We've got our inner King Ahazes, and sometimes they come to the surface, and we do something that we are almost instantly, we know, oh God, why did I do that again? Right? Because like Jesus, we do know right from wrong. And almost to a person, you all name some kind of form of harm. We know when we hurt someone. And Sharon, we do it all the time, right? Nobody's perfect. In fact, we're all incredibly human, and we mess up all the time. But the good news of Jesus, the good news to Zion, and Zion in this case is really Judah, which is being threatened by the Assyrians and by Ahaz. The good news for them is that they can find light within. Arise, shine, for your light is come, because it will be within you. Emmanuel. Emmanuel. If there's one thing that I think absolutely defines the Jesus tradition, the Jesus path for me, is that it is not external, it's internal. That's why I pray, more of you, O Christ, less of me. Let me be more like Jesus and less like Melinda from Texas. Melinda who's got a temper. Melinda who says the wrong things. Melinda who made mistakes yesterday. And what was I thinking about last night? I was thinking about the mistakes I made yesterday. I know. Isn't that just insane? Even I know it's insane. Yesterday was just fantastic. But what did I fall asleep on? Some of the mistakes. And the biggest mistake of all is that I did not thank that woman. I did not, in this room, in this place, in front of that huge crowd, say, this is beautiful because she made it beautiful. and because she was the project manager. Now, I've got a reason for that, but the reason doesn't matter. She deserved 1,000 times more credit than she got yesterday. Although I know many people went up personally, but she should have had public credit. And I feel terrible about that. So I'm trying to make up for it today. This is the deal. When we mess up, and this is the other part of the Jesus tradition, we tell the truth. We say, I messed up. And we go on the practice of forgiveness and reconciliation. And again, that's Emmanuel. God in me, God in you, God with us. Chunk, chunk. Exactly. And you thought Baroque music was silly. It's deep. It's deep, I tell you, it's deep. It's just frilly and a little silly. So for those of you on the Jesus path, you don't need this sermon. For those of you not on the Jesus path, maybe this is an entrance to just seeing what some of us on the Jesus path see. You don't have to be on this path, but maybe Christmas will be a little bit less annoying for you. Because I know it gets a little much. And frankly, the secular Christmas makes me want to barf. But the Jesus Christmas, the idea that the holy could be born again in, and I know, bad language, born again, could be in me and in you. And I could see it in myself, and I could see it in you. As Bonnie said, you know, Buddha. The Christian version of it, the Benedictines, say that everyone is the face of Christ. I know I've said this before. In the Rule of St. Benedict, there are multiple paragraphs just about the doorkeeper and how the doorkeeper works. The doorkeeper is supposed to be an older monk of great wisdom who can have a younger monk to help him if he needs some physical help. But he's supposed to be a monk of great wisdom. And the old joke is said, the doorkeeper would hear banging on the door and would say, "Yes, Lord, I'm coming," not knowing who's on the other side of the door. And if you think about early medieval Europe, it could be people who want to kill you on the other side of the door. To assume that that's going to be good, pretty silly. The next thing that the doorkeeper would say, "A blessing, please." And if they didn't offer a blessing, he didn't open the door. But it needed to be a monk of great wisdom to know when you let people in, when you don't. But the bias is that everyone is holy. And it'll change your life if you start to think of people that way. You could call it the Emmanuel path. You could call it the, Paul Vasily's, you're a beloved child. God calls you good. I call you good. We call you good. It's a good table. Let's be good. I mean, it gets a little much after a while, but it will change your life. So we say in our mission statement to tend the holy in ourselves and in others. Love yourself as you love your neighbor. Have compassion for yourself. Have compassion for your neighbor. Make peace with yourself. Make peace with your neighbor. Forgive yourself. Forgive your neighbor. We know what that looks like. Learning to practice it, however, is a lifelong task. And here we go. Amen.